Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I get to hang out today with one of my very good friends, Jamie Ivey. Jamie, thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, I have been a fan of yours for a while. I have watched your platform grow, and ever since your book came out, so I know all the things you were up to, and it's just been so fun watching your impact grow. But for anyone watching or listening that doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I live in Austin, Texas, which we were just discussing before we started this. Texas is a very big fan of the Tennessee Volunteers, at least my family is. So
I love it.
We live in Austin, Texas, and my husband's a worship pastor here. And I, like you said, I host a podcast called The Happy Hour. I wrote a book last year, and I get to travel and speak. And I'm mom to 4 kids. My oldest is a freshman in high school. Cannot even believe it. And then we have 2 7th grade boys and a 5th grade girl.
Oh my gosh, you're such a pro. I feel like we've got our third on the way. I'm like, teach me all that you know, because the idea of being outnumbered sounds terrifying to me. But people tell me, like, once you get past 2, like, you're just scaling at that point.
Once you get to 3, Christy, you got 5, 6.
Yeah,
you're golden. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you're a UT fan, UT Knoxville, do you have to clarify when people say, what kind of fan are you? You say UT Volunteers. Because otherwise they think Texas, right?
I will tell you why we're a UT Knoxville fan is because our friend, Coach Barnes, is y'all's basketball coach.
Yes.
And so he was at the University of Texas for many years before he went there. And so we have cheered him on over the past couple of years. And so that's where we cheer for you guys, is on the basketball court.
I love it. Well, I grew up being a big UT fan. My whole family's UT fans. And then I went there, and my husband's a big basketball fan, Kentucky basketball. And so this season has been the most fun season for us to watch because
I'm sure,
UT's actually competitive against Kentucky. And we beat them a few times. So I was like, oh, okay, I can get into this. So
it was a good year.
Yeah, divided household. That's so fun. Well, one of the things I love helping women do through their business, Jamie, and through their platforms, through social media, marketing, whatever, is really sharing their story and sharing their heart. And I think sometimes they get intimidated by the idea of sales. I've got to sell, I've got to push, I've got to, make all this stuff happen. I'm like, you know what? Just share your heart and share your story, and the sale will naturally follow. And one of the things that I've just always really respected about you is you're so great at sharing your story, and you do it in a way that connects with your readers, connects with your listeners. You do it regularly, through your podcast, but even especially in your book. So tell us a little bit about kind of what your story is, kind of give us an overview, and then I want to dive into how you do that and how you do that so naturally.
Yeah, I've always been a really big fan of stories. I always say stories change the world. I heard someone say that years ago, and it stuck with me because I feel like stories, they open up a whole new world for people. I mean, think about it. If you've heard someone share a story about parenting or school or basketball season for whatever, and then all of a sudden you can go, oh, I relate to that. I understand that. I kind of feel more connected to them than I did. And so I think stories are really, really important. Now, where it gets hard is when it's not this beautiful bow-tied story that may not have a perfect ending, but you may be in the middle of it, or it may be hard stuff. And I think those stories, in my opinion, are sometimes harder to share, but can go even further with people because everyone has hard times, everyone's struggling, everyone has been down in the dumps, everyone has these scenarios. And so to hear someone else say, I've been there, I get it, I understand, it's like this automatic connection and this bond. And so I'm a fan of sharing stories, and I did that through my book that came out last year, is I shared a lot of my journey of faith, just coming to know the Lord, walking with Him, marrying a pastor, dealing with shame. And Christy, I'm telling you, there's not a day that has gone by that someone hasn't said, thank you for sharing your story. We have so much in common. Or thank you for sharing your story. I opened up to my girlfriends about something. And so not only does it help us kind of own what God's done in our lives, but it opens up doors for other people to feel comfortable sharing their good things and the hard things. I'm a fan of stories, yeah.
I love that. And I think it's so important in our world of social media where you feel inclined to only share the good stuff. And so then what happens is, I've noticed, and I've even experienced this in my life, Jamie, where you're scrolling through social media and you know that that's the best parts of everyone's lives. But then when you struggle, when you have pain, when you have a failure or a setback, you think immediately, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that feels this way. I'm the only one struggling. Success is so easy for everyone else, and for me, it just feels really hard. And everyone else seems to have just an easier road, and mine feels full of pain and failures and setbacks. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this means I can't do this thing or chase this dream. And it really plants this lie that you are alone. And so I love even what you said about sharing your stories, because it creates connection. Going, oh, you feel that way too? Oh, you struggled with that too? But to be honest, sharing those parts are hard. Like sharing the less than perfect, part, sharing the stories of failure or embarrassment, it takes a lot of courage. I'll tell you in my experience, whether it's on stage speaking or through a podcast, sometimes there will be a story that just pops in my mind. And before I have a chance to think about it, I'm already in it. So I'm like, well, now I'm committed, right? Like I have to go ahead,
take it all the way,
share this thing. I'm like, dang it. And you feel vulnerable and you're like, am I going to regret this? So let's talk a little bit about what that is like, the courage that it takes to share the less than perfect stuff, because you're putting yourself out there hoping that helps and inspires and connects with people. But there's always the chance that they're going, oh no, I don't feel that way at all. You're the only one that did that thing. So it feels risky and vulnerable. Let's talk about how you do that.
I think one of the things I always want to make clear up front is you and I, we have a platform. We do podcasts, we do video, we write books and speak. And that's the giftings that God's given us and the place He's put us, right? But I would bet money for you, I'll speak for myself, that my sharing stories and going first and being brave, it starts on a much lower scale than in public and in a platform and on Instagram. My encouragement to women is to find those girlfriends who you really can say anything to. You can say anything about your family. You can say anything about what you're feeling. You can say anything about your faith journey, your business, anything. And they're going to listen and they're not going to talk down to you and they're not going to think less of you. And so I think that is the first step, is to have real life friends that you can share real life things with. Because if we're only relying on social media, what people don't know about your life and my life is I don't put up on social media sometimes the disappointment that I might have in some situation or the struggle that I'm having with one of my kids. And so I'm not trying to be fake. I'm just dealing with personal stuff in my own personal life.
Right.
But you know who knows about those things? Are my girlfriends, or my real people. And so I think instead of thinking, how do I do this on a larger scale? Let's think, how do I do this with the people in my life right now? And then if opportunities arise for you to do things more public or on a bigger level, you've already got that practice. Like you've already practiced saying, hey, here's who I am. How do you think about this? And you have the confidence. Now, I will say this. People all the time are saying, well, what if people do think less of you? What if someone doesn't accept it? And the thing I say about that is that will happen.
Right.
It definitely will happen, but I don't think it's worth not trying again. I think that the bigger outcome for you to try again and find someone that you can talk to is worth persisting. Yeah.
Okay, I love this. Now, this made me think of a question, and this is something I've been kind of wrestling with, trying to figure out for myself, Jamie, over the last year. And I want to camp here. I didn't even plan to ask you this, but this just made me think of it. So, in your opinion, and I love how you just kind of created this parallel here between you've got the stuff you put on Instagram, that's you doing your business, building your platform, inspiring people, et cetera. And then you've got real life. Maybe you had a fight with your husband, and you had, an argument with your kids, and you don't put every negative thing that happens to you on Instagram under this banner of vulnerability. And I think, we've seen this movement of be authentic, be vulnerable, be real, connect. And that's true. Yes, you want to do that. And you don't want the pendulum to swing so far that you are just airing your dirty laundry all day, every day.
Right.
Because that doesn't inspire others. And sometimes it just needs to stay private. Like there are things that, conversations I'm going to have with my husband and times that I'm going to have fights with my kids and no one needs to know about that. We need to keep certain things private. So can we just talk about this? Like, how do you discern what is for everyone, for the masses, whether it's a small business or social media or whatever, and what is just for you? What are those things that I need to work through this privately. I don't need to share it. Not because I'm embarrassed and can't be vulnerable. I can be vulnerable, but I'm not going to air my dirty laundry all day, every day. Can we just talk about this? Because this is something I think is hard to navigate.
I love this. Yeah, I agree. It is so hard to navigate because there is all these buzzwords. I want to be vulnerable and I want to be authentic and I want to be real to my listeners and my readers and my viewers. And I think you can. The thing for me is I decided a long time ago, what is my platform going to be used for? Whether that is my social media, my podcast, my book writing, video, whatever it is. And I want to be an encouraging person. I want to be encouraging, inspiring, and put people in Jesus. These are the three things that I always want to happen. And so I have to think through the lens, does me sharing this personal situation, does it encourage anyone? Does it inspire anyone? And does it point them to Jesus? And if it's a no, then I can't put it up. Now, there are two camps here, Christy. Some people say, work it through with your people so they can see the mess. And then there's people who are like, get through it and then go back and teach about it, right?
Right.
I lean towards, I'm going to work it through with my people, my real life people that I have their phone numbers and I call and we Voxer and they sit at my dinner table. And then I'm going to come back and use it to teach the masses. So that's where I land. There's nothing wrong with either one.
Yeah.
But I always have to think through, does this serve a purpose?
Yeah.
Because I think that we have this huge responsibility when our platforms grow is to think through every single thing we put out. what's the purpose here?
Yeah.
Does it have a purpose? Yes, go with it. No purpose? Nah, it's not for today.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you have those guardrails because it helps you make decisions about what goes out and what doesn't. And in the moment, there'll be times sometimes, Jamie, that like the Lord will teach me something or reveal something to me. And I'm like, ooh, that's a great blog. And the Lord will be like, that's just for you. Like
It's just
sometimes
for
I
you.
really feel that. And sometimes it's not that clear in terms of discerning that. And I don't know if you're like this, but I have the tendency to swing to extremes. So I'm either all or nothing, I'm on or off, hot or cold, working out every day, or I'm eating Oreos by the sleeve on the couch. Like there's
right.
in between. And one of the things I've noticed with this kind of be vulnerable, be authentic movement is it's tempting. A lot of women, like I said, it's either airing dirty laundry, but it's also kind of like, oh, I'm just a big mess. Look at me. I'm no makeup, messy hair, pajama pants every day. We're just all big messes. Let's just celebrate in our messy camp and high five about messiness. I'm like, okay, Jesus loves you in your mess, and please take a shower and get it together.
Get yourself together.
There's a time to get yourself out of your mess and put on some makeup and do the hard work. So it's that balance of, we want to swing to the extremes of, oh, I've got to be perfect and be a supermodel, or, oh, I'm just a big mess in my sweatpants all day, every day. No, you can walk this line of sharing the real authentic parts of you that are a struggle when you're sick, when you're tired, whatever, and also show, what, you can get it together, you can take a shower, you can Rachel Hollis girl, wash your face, whatever you need to do, you can get it together and kind of show that side too. So I love that because I think it's so easy to just pick one side and camp there, but it really is, it's both. And I feel like you do that really well where you're showing behind the scenes, but also still inspiring someone to more.
That's what I'm trying to do. And that's where I think about my purpose. Like, what is a purpose with everything? And there's a purpose sometimes of being like, I cannot believe that we're still in school. Like, when is summer break? And talk about how I hate making lunches, all the things. But then there's also a purpose to talk about how do we finish well? Like, how do I lean into the last 2 months of school in those kind of examples of saying both sides, and as long as they have a purpose. Now, Christy, I'm going to tell you this. I didn't even know that. No, you don't know this, is that I'm on a kind of social media break right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. And I have learned so much about why do I put content out? Because I'm releasing, someone else is running it for me right now. I'm hands off. So there's no Instagram stories, there's no reading comments, there's no reading messages, there's no feedback. And so this kind of break is helping me kind of reevaluate as well, what is my purpose in Instagram? Because when you take 6-7 weeks off, you kind of feel oh, I missed this and that feels dirty that I missed that. Like, that's weird that I miss all that. And so I am enjoying this break, but I think it is really healthy for even people running businesses, because that's a scary thing to say, oh, I'm gonna take 6 weeks off from Instagram. That's a really scary thing, but it has helped my soul so much that I think I will come back a better person.
Yeah, and even having that perspective, you just are gaining perspective you can't gain when you're in the trenches of the day-to-day habits of using social media and that type of thing. And it's a great platform, like we said, to make an impact, to share your story, to connect with other people. I'm just amazed at how you can make connections with people you would never know otherwise on social media, but having that balance. So I love that example. Now let's talk about, when we're trying to navigate this of like showing the parts that aren't as great. I tell people all the time, people will be impressed with your success, but they'll connect with your weaknesses. And so it's like you're showing these weaknesses, you're showing the fears or failures, but you're also trying to inspire them to more. When you're sharing some of the hard parts of your story, when you've got fear creep up, you've got doubt creep up, whether it's in writing your book, like you had your book last year, or any new project that you're facing where it just feels risky and unknown, your story feels silly, your story feels like you're the only one that has the story or whatever it is, how do you push past that fear? Like, how do you shake off the doubt? How do you keep taking forward steps when everything around you just feels really scary and unknown?
Oh, it's so hard. It is so hard. But I think a couple of things. Number one is I try to surround myself with people who are truth tellers. And so I don't need yes people around me, but I do need truth tellers around me. And so I would call my husband a truth teller, is when I'm feeling doubt, when I'm feeling, I don't know if I should do this, he's able to look in and tell me the truth. I have other people on my team who they're going to tell me the truth, which means they're not going to say, oh yeah, you can't do this, or pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They're going to look at me and say, you have something worth saying. So here's how we're going to do it. And then we walk scared into that. We go into it with fear. I think also you have to realize, who doesn't love all of the interviews that they do before the Super Bowl, or the interviews that we'll see tonight before the final March Madness game? They go to people's stories and they're like, look where they've been, look what they've overcome, and now look at them. And, they're doing all these amazing things. people, like you said, really, really connect with people's journey to where they've gotten. And so for me, I remind myself of that, is that, like you said, people are not just going to be so impressed with, here's what we did, we put a book out. But actually, let me tell you about the journey of getting there so that you can kind of relate to what it looked like to complete a project or to throw your life into something or do something like that. And so I remind myself of that. I surround myself with truth tellers. And then, I mean, honestly, Christy, you got to just sometimes just like put your butt in the chair and write a book, or put your butt in the chair and push record on a podcast, or do whatever you have to do. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm just going to do it even if I feel scared.
Yeah, I love that, because I've had people ask me before. A friend asked me, I guess it was about a year ago, I had lost, maybe I guess it was 2 years ago, I'd lost the baby weight from my second son, and she was looking at me like with this mystery. She goes, how did you do it? Like waiting for some secret. Like I'm gonna have this magic secret of, oh, you don't know? It's this special secret pill. I was like,
right.
I worked out. I worked out and I ate good. Like, it's not a secret, but you just have to do it. Like, what's the secret? You just do it. You sit down and write the book. You go run the miles. There's no secret. You just do the work, even if you're scared, even if you don't want to, even if you don't feel like it. Sometimes you just have to do the thing that is going to lead to the result that you want. So I love that example, because a lot of times people stay stuck feeling like I'm going to wait till the fear goes away. I'm like, well, you're going to be waiting a really...
I mean, there's still fear, you know? You're going to wait forever. Yeah.
Right. I love that. I love that example. You know, one of the things that I think is so interesting, too, is whenever we're sharing our story, it's one of those things where we feel like our story is so unique. Now, I know this sounds silly, but I've seen this even with Business Boutique and the Academy, and people asking about the Academy or asking about other businesses that are represented at our event. And they'll say like, well, do you have this kind of business? Well, are there any fitness businesses represented? Or are there any accountants? Are there any architects? I'm like, yes. Well, is it for nonprofit businesses? Is it for ministries? Is it for multi-level marketing? I'm like, yes, you're all in business. But we have this idea of like, my business is so unique, my idea is so unique, my story is so unique. No one can ever relate to me. And you actually talk about this in your book, that our stories are not as unique as we think. So let's talk about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I wanted to share my story for years. My story, my faith background, I grew up in church, went to church my whole life, but didn't walk with Jesus until I was about 21. So from all high school and college, there's some crazy parts of my life and stories, just living crazy. And then started following Jesus and married a pastor, lived in some shame, dealt with some sin issues. And I thought, no one else is going to understand this. Like no one else has been through what I've been through. So I'm going to write my story and I'm going to tell it. And what I've come to find out with maturity and age and, just getting older is that there are so many people who our stories are so much alike. Different variables, a few different things, but as like humanity, all of us have so much more in common than we even realize. And so when I was thinking about my faith journey, I thought, this is so unique. And then I realized, oh wait, a lot of people have this journey of not following Jesus and then following him and then dealing with some kind of shame and dealing with sin that they thought they were done with. And so when I told my story, I just found that like, wow, everyone can relate to this because it's not so unique. And when you talk about businesses, I mean, this is a soapbox that I can get on for so many reasons, is that people will come to me and say, I want to start a podcast, but I think someone's already doing it.
Right.
No. You're not doing it yet. Or they already had this conversation, or they already do this. And I really do not subscribe to this scarcity mentality of there's not enough room for everyone, because I'm always the first person to say, yeah, you should do a podcast. Yes, you should do it. Even if someone else is doing it, it's not your voice. It's not your style. It's not your heart behind it. And so I think there's more to all of us having a story and unique giftings and talents than we even dare to believe or understand.
Well, and I love that, because there will be people that you connect with that no one else could connect with in the way that you connect with them, because
so true.
While our stories are not completely unique, there's people that you need to help. There's still room for you. There's room for you in the marketplace. There's room for you in the podcast world. And I love that abundance mindset, because so often I think people think, well, someone's already doing it, I shouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, first of all, like, books, like you think about books, for example, like, well, there's already been books written. Okay. Are you ever just too inspired? Like, I've read too many books. I'm done. No more books for the rest of my life.
No one else is allowed to write a book about grace. It's done.
Yeah. That's already been accomplished. And it's funny because when we think about it as a consumer, well, I love to read books. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to, go to hear great speakers or whatever. But then when it's you writing the book, you think, oh, someone's already done it. So I just love that. Perspective that there's room for you too. There's room in the marketplace. One of the things that I think is really cool about sharing your story is it really creates community in the people that are around you. They're all going, oh, you too? Oh, you feel this way? Well, me too. Talk a little bit about the results that you've seen from sharing your story, specifically since your book's been out, because a book is one of those things that it can just have such a wide reach. I run into people all the time. They're like, oh, I read your book, Business Boutique. I'm like, oh, I forgot people read that. Because, writing is so lonely. Like you're behind this computer and then someone's like, I read it. I was like, oh, yes, I forgot.
I know.
But talk about, since your book's been out and even just as you've been sharing your story, what are some of the I don't know, takeaways or insights where you're like, wow, God's using this in ways that I could have never fathomed when I sat down at the computer to write this story, as the community is built and as it's making an impact beyond even what you could have thought.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I hear from people all the time is that because of reading my story, they then were able to share their story with friends. And it is, writing a book, like you said, it's this lonely endeavor. You're just alone and you're just writing words and you think, God, will this ever do anything? And then you're out and you meet someone, or they send you an email or they send you a DM. And basically they say to you, because you had the courage to share your story, I had the courage to share my story. And I've heard some crazy stories where I'm just going, that must have been so fearful for you to say that out loud. And they're like, yes, I was afraid, but you showed me through your courage that I could do it. And so bonds have been redone between families, friendships have gone deeper and deeper, because we can get in this rut of just this surface level of friendship for so long. And especially if you have kids and you're working and you're doing activities or whatever you might be doing. And then when they're taking these relationships to a deeper level and they're becoming vulnerable with the real people that they do life with, and they say, our friendship is just deeper than it's ever been. Those are the things that I love. Like, those are the things that make me go, it was worth it for me to go first. Because that's what I felt I was doing. Like, I'm going to go first. And then I want all you people who read the book to go do the same thing. I want you to go talk to people and become vulnerable with your story. I want you to be open about where you've been, your fears, your anxieties, and then let those friends walk alongside you through that. That's been my favorite thing, is to hear other people saying, you went first, and so I was able to go as well.
I love that. I love how you said you had courage and then it gave someone else permission to have courage. It's almost like this idea of like the courage is contagious and how powerful that is, because it's like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. One of my favorite parts about Business Boutique is at our events, we'll have a success story panel, and it's real women running real businesses that you probably haven't seen in any headlines, but we're just telling their story. And that is one of the biggest takeaways for the audience members, not what I teach, but hearing these women go, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. If she was scared and I'm scared, but she did it anyway, I can do it too. So I love that. I love how that courage is contagious. One of the things you talk about in your book is this idea of a safe place for women to share their struggles. And I think one of the biggest fears of why we don't share our story or share our fears or vulnerability or whatever is because we're afraid it's going to be crickets. We're afraid we're going to share it and someone's going, yeah, no, I've never been there. I don't relate to that. That's super weird. And you kind of put yourself out there and now you regret it. And so let's talk about this safe place. Like, what does that look like in a practical way, whether it's in friendship or, even on a bigger scale? Like, how do we provide that for each other and seek that out for ourselves?
Yeah. I think this is the part of the scariest part for people, is because they've been hurt before. And so they've done this and they're like, Jamie, I tried this once before and it did not go well. Or B, they just know what could possibly happen. Our stories are so personal. So many times people are bringing really big fears, really big problems, really big issues, and they're walking around with them for years, all alone. It's like we're carrying that boulder that we were never meant to carry all by ourselves. And so the thought of even opening up can be super, super scary. So when I say I want a safe person, for me, in my friendships I work in a faith setting, so I do a lot of stuff in churches and I write Christian books and have a faith-based podcast. For me, I need a friend who loves God more than she loves me. And what I mean by that for me personally is I need someone who is saying, no matter what Jamie brings to the table, no matter what she's struggling with, no matter what we're talking about for the 17th time this whole year, I love God so much that I'm going to reciprocate that love towards her. And so to me, that makes it such a safe place, because I know that they have my best interest at heart, because they love God. They serve him. They want to do what's right in his eyes. And so for me, they're going to, in turn, treat me that same way. So that's what I'm looking for, is someone who loves God a whole lot, because then they're going to reciprocate that for me. Number two, I think we sometimes think that I'm just going to meet this new friend. All of a sudden, I'm just going to word vomit everything that I need to tell them that I've been holding in for all these years. I think it's like it's a little back and forth. I mean, you meet a new friend and, you kind of test out the waters, like saying something that's not the worst thing not the worst fear you have or the worst anxiety you have or the worst struggle in your life right now, but just give a little bit of it. It's like a test. Like, okay, how are they going to react to this? And that's how friendships are built. It's like a give and take. And do I feel okay opening up about this? I mean, I host a Bible study in my home every week, and there are a lot of women in there that I met for the first time when they walked in my doors. Now, that's a vulnerable situation for me to be like, hey, let me tell you everything I'm struggling with right now. No, because we just met.
Right.
But through consistency and through being vulnerable with little things, and for each of us showing up in each other's lives, we build trust so that there are moments when they can say, hey, here's what's actually going on. And then I can be the kind of friend that says, okay, that's fine. I'll walk through it with you.
I love that. I love the idea of focusing on the trust, because as you build the trust, and the foundation is there for you to share that. And you even have to have that really on a larger scale too. Like, you shared your story in your book and you had no idea who was going to read that, but it's like you had to trust that God was going to use that. If he gave it to you, he wanted to use that. So I think that's such a great example. One of the things that I think is so good for all of us as we're kind of exploring this idea of, okay, I want to share my story, I want to be vulnerable, I want to be authentic, is making sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. Now, I know that sounds like a silly thing, but sometimes it's like, I'll tell a story just because I'm a good storyteller, just because I like to talk, or just because I need to vent. But it's especially in our platforms and our businesses. Like, I love your guardrails. I'd love it if you'd give me those again. Is this going to help or have a purpose? So what are those three? Because I think that's really good reminder. And they don't have to be that for whoever's listening, but to set those guardrails. If I'm going to share this, it's going to be because it meets these certain criteria. So what are yours? Remind me of those again.
Encourage, inspire, and point to Jesus. And I started those when I started my podcast. And the best thing for me, Christy, was to have those down, so that for me, on a business standpoint, let's say 1 month it tanks and no one listens to the show. Well, I'm freaking out, but I can still go, did I do these 3 things? Are we still on the right path here? Do we need to adjust some things? For sure. Obviously, in the business mindset, you don't want to have no listeners. But I do think with everything I put out, is it encouraging? I want to be an encourager. I do not want to be a Debbie Downer online, on my show, anywhere. We have enough of that in the world, right? Is it encouraging? Is it inspiring? Am I always inspiring women that they can do big things right where they are? I want women to think they can just dream up anything and go do it. And then I want to point people to Jesus in everything I do.
I love it. And so if you're listening or watching right now, I just encourage you, this is such a practical takeaway from Jamie, to set your guardrails. What are your criteria? Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5, but have those guardrails. And then when you share something, whether it's to a friend or online, ask yourself, does it meet this criteria? I love that so much. I think so much of, as we, have a public persona, whether you're a small business or not online, you feel like, okay, well, these are the things that represent my brand. I'm energetic, I'm positive, I'm, exciting, whatever. But even thinking about, does the content, does the part of the story that I'm sharing fall within that, really helps you keep that consistency. Okay, I've got one more question around specifically something you talk about in your book, and I think this is such a difficult thing for women. And it's around forgiveness, and specifically forgiving ourselves. And there are parts of our story that, there are parts of my story, Jamie, that I will still, to this day, it could be years ago, I'll still mentally beat myself up over. And it's this broken record that I think the enemy gets a foothold, and we could go down that whole road of the spiritual warfare. But let's just, on a practical level, how we find forgiveness for ourselves. I'll tell you really quickly an experience I had. This was about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago. I was going to yoga. I love yoga. And I'm laying there. They do that thing at the beginning where they're like, okay, set your intention for the class. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I just think of a word, and the word for that day that popped in my head was forgiveness. And so I start thinking of all the things, the people that I wanted to forgive. Well, I'll forgive this person or this person. And I just felt God interrupt me and say, oh, no, forgiveness for you. And it's like, it changed my entire thought process to forgive myself for my messy purse that I'm always embarrassed about, or forgive myself for always, running low on gas, or forgive myself for the hateful comment I sent in that email that I should have when I was in a bad mood the day before. And just walking through, and it was this really powerful exercise in figuring out what it's like to let grace into my own life, the same grace that I know I'm supposed to have for others, choosing to have it for myself. And you talk about this in your book. So I just want to talk about this idea of forgiveness when there are parts of our story that bring shame and that are hard to live with.
Yeah, it's so hard. And for me, I mean, so many things, like just like you, I can think of a situation or a time in my life and I can just feel beat down again. And I can feel like, God, what was I thinking? What was I thinking is what I say a lot of times. What was I thinking? And I think we do that as parents. We do that in our businesses. We do it as neighbors. We do it all the time. I'm going to take it a step further than what you just said about allowing us to experience the grace that we give others. I was doing a podcast a couple of years ago with a guest, and she started talking really crazily about forgiveness, and I have never thought the same about it before. She said to me, she said, Jamie, if we had the ability to forgive ourselves, like if we're like, okay, I need to forgive myself for this, I need to forgive myself for that, I need to forgive myself for that, then we would have no need for Jesus to do our forgiving. And so that changed me that day, where I thought, you know what? I need to offer myself grace. I need to take that in from Jesus, but I also need to remember that he is the only one that can forgive me.
Right.
And so when we step into that and we go, okay, I am fully forgiven because of him, I need to accept the grace. I need to live it. I need to walk in it. I think it just takes it one step further. Now, is it easy? Oh my gosh, I still have things that I think about, but then I have to remind myself, there's nothing I can do to pardon myself from those sins, ever. If I could, we wouldn't need a savior.
Right.
And so that has been so helpful for me to walk in this abundant life and full of grace, and accepting that is to know I can do no more than what he already did. Now, do we beat ourselves up? Yeah, I can actually be a part of that. And so I need to let that go. I need to not be a part of that. That is where I'm learning to fight all of those things, is saying, nope, I can't give into this because it was already taken care of. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying that that's easy. That is hard. And it is hard too when I have friends who have earthly consequences for actions and earthly consequences for sins that are way different than my very ugly, jealous heart yesterday that I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? And so
absolutely.
I understand that even takes it a little bit further, but I still think it doesn't lessen what Jesus did for us and his grace and the ability that we have to say, I'm in, I'm taking it. I'm going to sit back. Thank you for your work, Jesus.
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective. I'll tell you what changed it for me with the whole idea of forgiveness and forgiving yourself. Because for years, and I still struggle with this. Like, this is not like, oh, I have graduated. Thank you, and you're welcome.
We're good. Yeah.
It's like, I understand that Jesus has forgiven me. I just can't. I'm like, oh yeah, Jesus did. However, I still got some bones to pick with myself. Like, I'm still embarrassed, mad, full of shame, whatever. So it's like I can see and understand intellectually, but I don't receive it to the point that I can let myself off the hook. And I'll tell you, someone said something one time, I think it was a pastor, that said, when you continue to live in shame and choose shame and harbor unforgiveness for yourself, what you're taking is actually a posture of arrogance, because you're saying that whatever you did is bigger than what Jesus did on the cross. And I was like, oh, that will, okay, I can let it go. I feel like I could let it go. It gives you that perspective.
That's exactly what I said, is that what prideful people to think we're too much for him. Like, oh, you can handle hers, but you can't handle me.
Right.
And it's so false.
It goes back to even what we were saying in a silly example a little bit ago of like, oh, I'm different. My story's different. My story's so unique for everyone else, but not me. I'm special. It's like,
you wouldn't understand.
That's right. That's right. You created me. You wouldn't get it. Anyway.
Right.
Jamie, I could talk to you all day. You are so fun and just such a light, and you are inspiring and encouraging and pointing people to Jesus. And I just love your witness and your story and your example. I'd love it as we wrap up if you would tell our listeners and our viewers where they can get your book, If You Only Knew, and just find out about your podcast and all the things you're doing and connect with you. When you're on social media,
Christy.
when you're back.
I'll be back. I love Instagram. So I'm Jamie Ivey on Instagram. And then my book, If You Only Knew, you can get it anywhere books are sold. Amazon is my favorite because it'll show up the next day. You know that. And then my podcast is called The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. And anywhere you listen to shows, you can find me.
Awesome. Jamie, you are just so wonderful to hang out with. Thanks for all that you do
Christy.
for women, for encouraging others, and for hanging out with me today.